coverage of today's tragic events. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. That's the words that the governor of Utah mentioned just moments ago during the live press conference. And I'm reading some of your text messages coming in. One from the 425 just came in and said, "I'm sad and my blood is boiling with anger. Tough day to understand." And that is probably the best summary of how so many people are feeling today. Devastated by a political assassination of someone who was incredibly important to the conservative movement and was doing such amazing work. He was a genuinely good person, a father, a husband, a very smart business person, a conservative activist who bravely took on the radical left. It's sad when something like this happens, of course, but it's also something that probably makes people really, 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 really angry. And that's a normal response, anger, after something like this. And I imagine the feelings are going to get even more raw as the evening goes on and as the week continues, because right now I think a lot of us are still in shock. This happened a few hours ago. It was a little afternoon when this happened, and we had gotten word here that Charlie passed about 30 minutes before the news broke. Bonneville International owns this radio station. They also own Deseret News, which is based out of Utah, and there was a reporter there who confirmed the details from two sources. And even when I saw it, I was hoping that it was wrong, that they just got it wrong. Even though, having unfortunately seen the close-up video of the shot, there was no way that he would be able to survive that. Now, none of us wanted to say that, let alone think it, but that was the reality. But I was still hoping, because I didn't see anyone else talking about getting a confirmation from one or two sources, anything, that had happened, that he did in fact pass. But unfortunately, you know, you read that, you hear it. We heard Guy Benson announce it live on his show on Fox. Will Cain announced it live on his. He'll be on later this evening. And it's still shocking and doesn't seem real. It still does not seem real that Charlie was murdered in such a horrific fashion. And I don't know what we're supposed to do with the anger. I could pretend, I suppose. I did the Fox Business hit, and I was asked if there are any words of hope for people who don't think anything can get better, or at least to give people hope that things can, in fact, get better. But the reality is, and I said this on the show, I don't have any words for hope. I'm not hopeful right now. Now, will that change in the coming days? Probably, because I have no doubt that as a result of this assassination, you'll see certainly folks on the right and the good faith folks on the left come together and denounce this, and perhaps will feel good for a little bit before they end up using the same Nazi Hitler rhetoric as they normally do. But right now, I'm not going to pretend that I feel a whole bunch of hope. I don't think things are going to get better just like that. How could anyone have words of hope after you see, for some of you, just someone who was incredibly important, you followed him, you were a fan of his, be murdered like that? Or for those of us who actually knew Charlie personally, how could you see any of that and have any kind of hope? You can't. That's the reality. And perhaps that is not the best message to put out there on the radio, where some of you want that sense of hope. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to just put on a performance for you and pretend that I'm feeling particularly hopeful, because I'm not. I'm not. And again, I acknowledge that that is a feeling that will, I'm assuming, start to go away in the coming days and maybe after the weekend. But on this show, I try not to just, tell you what, quote unquote, you're supposed to be told at this point. No, it is a shocking, unimaginable tragedy that will change, I think, the culture, not just on college campuses, but in the world of politics. And perhaps that change will be for the better. But, any of us who are in positions on the media where people know what we look like and know where we work and can find out where we live, you think I'm feeling particularly good right now? I am nowhere near where Charlie Kirk was, and yet we get death threats. I've had to go to court to get a judge to stop people from wanting to murder me. And you hear things, all the time of the threats, and then nothing ever happens. But then something like this happens, and it completely changes the way you think about everything. So it's hard for me to just come out here and say, well, let's have some hope. That'll come in the next few days. For now, let's just be real.
Download the smartphone app to take Seattle Red with you everywhere you go. With Seattle Red in your pocket, you can read up on the latest news and opinion and stream your favorite shows 24/7. Download now to stay connected with Seattle Red anytime, anywhere.